In a quiet execution chamber in Florida, a man waited as the final moments of his life slipped away. Not after days, not after months, but after nearly 4 decades on death row. Convicted of brutally killing a 70-year-old grocery store owner in 1986, 65-year-old Melvin Trotter became the second person executed in Florida this year, following a record-breaking surge of executions in 2025. But behind the statistics lies a haunting story of violence, survival, justice, and controversy over how executions are carried out in America today. This is the case of Melvin Trotter and the final chapter of a crime that never stopped echoing. A man convicted of killing a 70-year-old grocery store owner was executed Tuesday in Florida, marking the state's second execution of the year, and continuing a sharp rise in capital punishment following a record-breaking 2025. Melvin Trotter, 65, was pronounced dead at 6:15 p.m. after receiving a lethal injection at Florida State Prison near Stark. According to officials, the procedure proceeded without complications. A spokesperson for Governor Ron DeSantis confirmed the execution shortly afterward. Trotter had spent nearly 4 decades on death row for the 1986 killing of Virgie Langford, a beloved grocery store owner in Palmetto near the southern edge of Tampa Bay. What happened inside that small neighborhood store on June 16, 1986, would shock the community and set off a legal battle that lasted almost 40 years. According to court records, Langford was stabbed and strangled during a robbery. Despite her severe injuries, she was still alive when a passing truck driver discovered her bleeding on the floor behind the counter. In a final act of courage, she provided investigators with critical details about her attacker before being rushed to the hospital, where she later died. Langford described the man who attacked her and gave police a crucial clue. He wore a Tropicana employee badge bearing the name Melvin. That detail would soon lead authorities to Trotter. Investigators later reported finding a T-shirt stained with Langford's blood type inside Trotter's home, as well as his handprint on a meat cooler inside the store, evidence that prosecutors said tied him directly to the crime scene. In 1987, Trotter was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. However, the case did not end there. Years later, the Florida Supreme Court ruled that the trial court had mishandled aggravating factors during sentencing, legal elements used to justify the death penalty. As a result, Trotter was resentenced in 1993, where he once again received the death penalty. For decades, appeals and legal challenges delayed the execution. His attorneys argued that flaws in Florida's death penalty procedures, combined with his advanced age, should spare his life. But those efforts ultimately failed. Earlier this year, the Florida Supreme Court denied his final state appeals. On the day of the execution, the U.S. Supreme Court also declined to intervene, clearing the way for the sentence to be carried out. Not everyone on the High Court agreed. Justice Sonia Sotomayor raised concerns about how Florida administers lethal injections. Trotter's lawyers had argued that the state's protocol could be mismanaged in a way that causes severe suffering, potentially violating the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. In her statement, Sotomayor emphasized the importance of ensuring executions are conducted consistently and humanely, warning that any failure to follow proper procedures could lead to what attorneys described as a mangled execution. Trotter's execution comes amid an unprecedented surge in capital punishment within Florida. In 2025 alone, the state carried out 19 executions, more than any other year since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976. Under Governor DeSantis, Florida executed more inmates in a single year than any previous administration, surpassing the prior state record of 8 executions set in 2014. Nationwide, 47 people were executed in the United States in 2025. Florida led the country, followed by Alabama, South Carolina, and Texas, each carrying out 5 executions. For supporters of capital punishment, the execution represents long-delayed justice for a brutal crime. For opponents, it highlights ongoing concerns about fairness, aging death row inmates, and the methods used to carry out executions. What remains undeniable is the human dimension. A victim who fought to identify her attacker in her final moments, a community that never forgot the crime, and a man who spent nearly half his life awaiting the state's ultimate punishment. Nearly 40 years after Virgie Langford's death, the case has finally reached its legal conclusion. But the debate over the death penalty, its morality, its effectiveness, and its future, continues.